The Loathly Lady, known in Welsh as Dinas Gars, frequently appears as a story element in medieval literature, with a renowned instance being Geoffrey Chaucer's The Wife of Bath's Tale. The narrative revolves around an initially unattractive woman who becomes stunningly attractive when a man, undeterred by her initial ugliness, approaches her. It eventually transpires that her ugliness was actually a curse, broken by the hero's intervention. In Celtic lore, the Loathly Lady appears in the adventures of the sons of Eochaid Mugmadon, wherein Niall of the Nine Hostages verifies his claim to be the rightful High King of Ireland by embracing her. She symbolizes the sovereignty of the land, hence scholars sometimes refer to her as a sovereignty goddess. The Fenian cycle of Celtic mythology tells the story of Diarmuid Ua Duibni, a renowned member of the Fianna. One freezing winter night, the Loathly Lady entered the Fianna Lodge, where the warriors were resting after a hunting expedition. Her hair was soaking wet and tangled. Desperate for warmth and shelter, she requested a blanket from each warrior, starting with their leader, Theon. Despite her harsh words and outbursts, the weary men ignored her, hoping she would leave. Diarmuid was the only one to show compassion, offering her his bed and blanket. Diarmuid comforted her and promised to protect her. As dawn approached, he realized she had turned into a beautiful young woman. The following day, the Loathly Lady thanked Diarmuid for his kindness by granting him his greatest wish, a house with a sea view. Delighted, Diarmuid asked her to live with him. She agreed, on the condition that he never mentions her initial unattractiveness. After spending 3 days together, Diarmuid started to feel restless. He agreed to go hunting while the Loathly Lady looked after his greyhound and her new puppies. On 3 separate occasions, Diarmuid's friends, jealous of his good fortune, visited the Loathly Lady, and each requested a puppy. Each time she granted their request. Each time Diarmuid was upset and asked her why she would repay his kindness in such a manner, especially after he overlooked her initial unattractiveness. On the 3rd mention of this forbidden topic, the Loathly Lady and the house vanished, and his beloved greyhound passed away. Realizing his ingratitude had cost him everything he valued, Diarmuid set out to find his lady. He crossed a stormy sea using a magical ship. Upon reaching the other world, he searched for the lady through green meadows filled with brightly colored horses and silver trees. 3 times he found a drop of ruby-red blood and gathered each drop into his handkerchief. When a stranger revealed that the king's gravely ill daughter had returned after 7 years, Diarmuid realized it must be his lady. He rushed to her side and found her dying. The 3 drops of blood were from her heart, shed each time she thought of Diarmuid. The only cure was a cup of healing water from the Plain of Wonder, guarded by a protective king and his army. Diarmuid vowed to retrieve the cup. His quest for the healing cup hit a roadblock at an impassable river. Diarmuid was stumped until the Red Man of all knowledge, a red-haired man with glowing eyes, helped him cross the river and guided him to the castle of the king with the healing cup. Once there, Diarmuid issued a challenge, prompting the king to send out 2 waves of soldiers totaling 3,400 men. Diarmuid single-handedly defeated them all. Impressed, the king gave him the healing cup. On the return journey, the Red Man advised Diarmuid on how to cure his lady. He also warned Diarmuid that once her illness ended, his love for her would end as well. Diarmuid refused to believe this, but it did come true. The lady understood that Diarmuid's love for her had waned. She couldn't live in his world any more than he could live in hers. Diarmuid returned to the Fianna on a magical ship, where he was greeted by his friends and his revived greyhound, the lady's last gift to him. In Arthurian British lore, as a quest instigator, the Loathly Lady appears in Holy Grail literature, including Chrétien de Troyes' Percival, the Story of the Grail. Wolfram von Eschenbach's Parsifal, and the Welsh romance Peredur, son of Efraog, from the Mabinogion. The best-known treatment is The Wife of Bath's Tale, where a knight, given the choice between an ugly but unfaithful wife or a beautiful but false one, frees the lady from the form entirely by letting her choose for herself. A variation of this story is connected to Sir Gawain and the related romances. The wedding of Sir Gawain and Dame Ragnall. Another motive variation is the child ballad King Henry, where the king must appease the loathly lady as she continually demands more tribute. The following morning he is astounded when she transforms into a beautiful woman. In Norse tradition, the loathly lady also featured in the Old Norse saga of Hrolfr Kraki, where Hror's brother Helgi is visited by an unattractive creature during the Yule while he was in his hunting house. No one in the kingdom allowed the creature in except Helgi. The creature later asked to share his bed. Reluctantly, he agreed, and as the creature climbed into the bed, it turned into an elvish woman who was dressed in silk and was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He violated her, and she became pregnant with a daughter named Skuld. He forgot about the woman, and a few days after the date had passed, the woman returned, holding Skuld. Skuld would later marry Hjörvaror, Hrolfr Kraki's killer. The tradition is also found in the Northumbrian tale The Laidly Worm of Spindleston Heugh. The tale relayed by the wife of Bath in Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales is a standard example of the loathly lady motif. The story unfolds during King Arthur's reign over the Isle of Britain. It was a time when friars were terrorizing the people of the Isle of Britain by violating women. Unlike the incubus of the past that impregnated women, the friars only shamed them. The plot commences when a knight from King Arthur's court violates a young woman after being overpowered by his lust for her. The king and his court agree that beheading is a suitable punishment for such a crime. However, the queen and the female members of the assembly intervene before it can be carried out. These women persuade the king to give the accused another opportunity under one stipulation. They suggest that if the man can uncover what women most desire from their partners and present this knowledge to them in a timely manner, then he can evade the executioner's blade. The king consents to the women's proposed punishment and awards the man this second opportunity. Without hesitation, the man seizes this opportunity and embarks on an expedition that proves to be more challenging than he initially thought. At the onset of his mission, the man recognizes that each woman he interrogates appears to present him with a distinct response from the preceding one. As his allotted time dwindles, he stumbles upon a group of young ladies dancing and moves to question them as well. However, as he approaches, to his disappointment, the group evaporates and morphs into an elderly, unsightly woman, a crone, who volunteers to assist him with his predicament. The old woman accompanies the man back to the court and supports him in delivering the answer to the women of the assembly. United, the man and the unattractive lady inform the women of the court that sovereignty is what women covet most in their romantic lives. Women yearn to be recognized as equal participants in their romantic relationships. The wife of Bath adds that she requests the knight to marry her in exchange for her assistance. Though he begs her to take his riches instead, the man succumbs to the loathly lady's demand. They wed, and their marriage is consummated on that very night. When the elderly woman discerns the man's unhappiness, she inquires about his sorrow. He confesses his unhappiness at being wedded to such a physically unappealing woman. In response, the wife poses a dilemma for the man. He can either have an older, unappealing, yet devoted wife, or a young and attractive wife who would be disloyal to him. The man chooses to let his wife make the decision, and she undergoes a transformation, becoming a wife who is both beautiful and loyal, as he bestowed upon her the sovereignty to choose.